Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Welcome back to VALORANT News. A major news on the rostermania side. It seems Version 1, after failing to qualify for the Stage 2 main event in North America, are making a change to their in-game leadership role. Zander supposedly is gone from the team, an incredibly talented IGL in theory. Where could he potentially end up? Could he improve another squad? And what does Version 1 go to do in his place? Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Really upset the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that one. Plenty to get into today. Thought this is kind of funny really from Bokken just to start things out here, talking about the fact that, well, Cloud9, we saw a couple of days ago, Zeta is gone to T1, Curry's coming in his place, reckoning that actually the fact that, well, both Sentinels and Optic had a player with kind of an Indian-Pakistani origin, so maybe Curry joining the team is the master plan to get Cloud9 over the line. Wanted to mention this as well because there was some drama about this yesterday between the VALORANT scene and the kind of North American CSGO scene. That Twistzz, of course, CSGO player currently for FaZe Clan, said we saw so many new players move to VALORANT because they just wanted the easy money. Now, it goes on to say that, like, okay, he maybe needs to clarify the statement a little bit more, but he also says that he does kind of agree with this. Like, he says it's a pretty harsh way to say it, but he reckons this is true. Now, there's an interesting side to the story here, right? Because as Vanity says in the reply, money isn't real, you can pay rent with passion and dedication. He said in the reply, actually, Twistzz, I thought was rather interesting, that, you know, winning or being number one should be your main priority, which is kind of implying, really, that, like, he doesn't think people should have gone to VALORANT if they were good at CS. They should be there for, you know, to be number one effectively in Counter-Strike rather than going and taking the easy route to VALORANT and the more potential money that it offers, right? Because that's the thing with CS, despite it being a massive esports, because it's such a free-for-all with all these organizations, especially in North America, the tier 2, tier 3 scene, there's barely any money going around. Whereas in VALORANT, it's very much a different story. And of course, it makes sense a lot of these players wanted to move to VALORANT for that very reason, right? As Vanity says, you got to pay your rent at the end of the day, right? You can't pay that rent with, you know, with straight passion and exposure and dedication, all this type of stuff. You have to pay it with actual money, right? So Vanity's saying, look, I don't know what you're on about, Twistzz, really. These guys are just making a sensible move going from CS to VALORANT, given, you know, the options and the salaries in this type of situation. And there was also talk about the kind of the CS situation, as Ye says, right here, I'm not really familiar with this whole story about the CS PPA and some of the frustrations that the players had with it. Ye's talking about it a little bit right here, but basically giving some more reasons. As Matthew almost says, actually, from the guard side, like, can't believe all these despicable people with no work ethic and left and went to VALORANT. So kind of tongue-in-cheek on that front. But, you know, I think dapr even says in the reply, because I think obviously a lot of VALORANT people are like, okay, you know, wow, Twistzz is being outrageous. This is, you know, so unfair that he would say this thing. And then dapr says, comes off pretty insecure whenever VALORANT noobs defend swapping games for easy money, guys, cut it out. So there's definitely been some back and forth and some discussion on this. In tweeting your perspective, Twistzz does go on to kind of clarify this a little bit more, saying that it would have been nice if that ex-Chaos roster that did have potential would have, you know, found another organization in the North American side, talking about the likes of, you know, Leaf and Steel and Vanity and these players that were part of that kind of Chaos team and then went over, I think, dapr as well, and kind of went over to VALORANT as well. I understand the job security factor, though. The scene, it wasn't in a good place. It's kind of getting better now, the North American CS side, but I think it does make perfect sense why a lot of people moved over to VALORANT, to be perfectly honest. Let's dive into this one. I thought this was rather funny. Version 1's IGL position is basically the North American VALORANT equivalent to the defense against the Dark Arts teacher, which seems to, well, the curse effectively. They seem to change every so often. But Zander, when brought into this team, did a great job. There was all this talk about Zander and cryo cells, that they were potentially going to get bought out by 100 thieves. We'll see the potential that where they could go, maybe they could reunite on XSET in a couple of seconds here. But yeah, for some reason, Version 1 have decided that Zander is no longer seemingly going to be a part of their lineup. As George Get has explained, and our sources say, Version 1 is set to put Zander to the bench. He was a big signing. Everyone said, okay, wow, a North American IGL that's seemingly a great IGL and can also frag massively. Like, yeah, it's a massive pickup for this team, for any team, and early on, it seemed to work out very well indeed. The rumor has it that wardell is not likely to return, just because when they had that issue with Whippy not being in the roster, they brought wardell in as a substitute and actually did better with wardell in their team in the first Open qualifier than they did in the second one, where they failed to qualify, of course, for the main event. But as it's described right here, Zander's been with Version 1 since December, so relatively good success. Of course, they went 5-0 in Stage 1 Changes, but failed to qualify for Masters, of course. And now, well, having failed to qualify for even the group stage right here, losing to Girl Kisses, Complexity, and then, of course, well, nowadays, they're going to have to figure out what they do, because they're probably going to compete in smaller tournaments, having failed to qualify for the second Masters. And then, well, after that, they can probably still get through to the last chance qualifier and have a go to make it to champs. But until then, it seems like roster swaps are coming in. Zander as the IGL is going to go. So really interesting situation, right? And Zander says in the reply, like, well, he says this, the Pinocchio emoji, I guess, is what this is meant to be, with the extended nose, basically saying that this maybe isn't fully the case. But look, when sources say this and when players say this, it's probably going to happen, especially because of this tweet says anything cool happened today. So probably Zander is gone from this team. Bit of a surprise, I think, to a lot of people, and therefore the question will be there, what are Version 1 going to do in his place if they're going to bring another IGL in potentially? But also, where could Zander go? Because I think there's probably a good few teams in North America that, you know, could be in need of an upgrade, and maybe a fragging IGL like Zander could be an option, right? We'll see that here in a second. Just looking at the stats real quick, this is kind of when Version1 were at the peak of their powers. This, you know, we're talking early 2022, of course, some of these Mickey Mouse tourneys, but also in the start of Changes, right? The 5-0 run they had right here, taking down Sentinels 2-0 before falling to Cloud9 and Luminosity at the playoffs. But they did beat Sentinels twice across both the kind of, well, the group play matches and also the playoffs in this situation, but of course failing to get through in, I think they came top 6 of this event, I guess would make sense here, but failing to get through at the end of the day all the way to Masters. And then since then it's been very much downhill. We have also said this, right, after they failed to qualify, that Zeltis, I believe he said on stream quite a little bit ago, actually now a couple of weeks ago, that he's looking to also step away after he was hoping they would qualify, but he wasn't really convinced he wanted to stay in this team. So not really sure what's going on internally there, but Zeltis was maybe getting burnt out a little bit with competing, and he wanted to step away from the team for a little bit, which probably frankly didn't help them coming into these qualifiers. But as he says, as for my future, it's currently undecided, so who knows if Zeltis is even going to be part of this team anymore either. But just looking at Zander's statistical performances here, this is the last 90 days. Of course, you know, Smoke player, right? We've got the Astra, Viper, Omen, and Brimstone. If we look past 30 days, it's going to be a little bit more like Astra's kind of moved down the pecking order right here. Viper, Brimstone used most of the time, but purely statistically, right, at 1.06. If we look past 90 days, like these stats are very good, especially considering he is the IGL for the team. So the question then remains, where could he potentially go as a player, right? We have seen this also from kind of Ian Harding from that Version1 side, saying that, like, can we actually still qualify for the last chance qualify? But if they are going to qualify, which they probably do have enough points, 35 might be enough to send them through. It's by far from guaranteed, but they might have enough points here to still be top 10 after stage 2 effectively, to make sure they do then qualify as like a kind of 8 teams outside of the top 2 that go automatically to champions to try and give it a go. So they still, like, their season is still potentially alive, but you know, they're going to have to do something obviously to change things around. I'm not really sure benching Zander is the idea, but maybe they want an entire switch of culture or whatever the case might be, or the team got frustrated with playing with him. Who actually knows? But you know, the question is, what are they going to do? Because T1, they're in need of a team. Zeta, of course, they signed over from Cloud9. Steel is probably going to stay, and like, you know, who knows what's the rest of the team going to be? Sneerot, Zander, Wardell, like, I'm on the new T1 squad. Like, of course, we heard some brief rumors about Zoms, right, whether he wants to join this team. Maybe kind of doubt this is going to happen, but like as Zeta says right here, Zom says, you know, shush about this one, see you in T1, right? So who knows what's going to happen with T1? They won't compete, it seems, for the rest of this season, but next year they will certainly be competing. They need a roster. Could Zander be part of that team? The other question has been, right, could they potentially reunite on XSET? Because as it is right now with the kind of XSET situation, they've always kind of been falling short of where they maybe want to be. They seem to be 4th every single time, which, you know, for XSET is probably okay, but like, it's not winning events, right? And it feels like that current team they have, despite Cryocells being an unbelievable talent, has failed to quite get the results that maybe they would be looking for. So there's an argument to put Zander and Cryo together on that XSET squad, just because 100 Thieves were seemingly planning to do that before they built their old 100 Thieves roster, which didn't work out particularly well. And I wanted to talk also about Sentinels, just because like they qualified just about right here for the main event. They lost their first game to Luminosity Gaming, and their run does not get easier from here. They still play Cloud9, they still play Optic Gaming right in that group. It's going to be far from easy for them to even qualify through, as they're not going to make any changes over these coming couple of weeks or days. But like, let's say they don't qualify for, let's say they don't qualify, for example, for Masters, right, and they're kind of waiting for the last chance qualifier for Champions. Like, look, who knows what's going to happen with ShahZaM as, I guess, their current IGL at the present time. Like, he's been struggling a little bit lately. Like, he's been talking about the kind of frustrations he's had with the fans and the hate that he gets on social media, and the fact that, like, okay, he could make more money if he was streaming. He might just want to step away. I think that honestly, if they hadn't qualified here for the main event, I wouldn't have been surprised if he just retired then and there. So I think there's a possibility, maybe not in the near future, but that, well, Sentinels consider this as an option, right? A kind of fragging IGL for this team. Like, ShahZaM's been struggling as of late. I'm sure they could potentially make the roles work on that team as well. I think that given they've gone for the Kanpeki route, I think that there's a possibility there where Sentinels might think, okay, Zander now is an option on the market. If ShahZaM does want to step away, or he's kind of getting frustrated, it's getting a bit much for him, then maybe that's an opportunity, right? So I wouldn't absolutely rule anything out at this point. Definitely tweeting your perspective on this one in the comment section below, though. Just wanted to finish off with a couple of things here, just from C9 Mel, of course, currently on the Cloud9 white team. She said, as we saw at the start of May, that she's not planning here to be the best female player in the world or be on the best female team in the world. It's actually about, you know, being the best player she possibly can be, and, you know, getting to champions and going beyond just, you know, being a female, you know, Valorant player, right? And taking things to the next level. Thought an interesting article that came out yesterday where, well, she was quoted as saying, I want to be at champs in the next 3 to 5 years, or I will have failed at my own expectations. So not sure what this really means for Mel going forwards, or like what kind of North American team she could join that's not maybe a full female squad to take this leap to the next level. But, you know, I really respect the drive and the ambition right here, and I certainly hope it works out for her. And just to finish off with this, to close out the video from, well, Matt Liu as well, current NA VTT team rankings based on overall round win rates. Of course, 100 Thieves killed it in their first match they played up against the Guards, so right now it's looking like this. Of course, we're only one match in, plenty is going to change, but very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit on the like button, tell us your YouTube god, does a good video, and also like you should see it as well, and I'll grow the competitive Valorant community. Thank you much as always, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.